So we were trying to figure this out. So you think 4 days around the country is what the sort of world looks like today, and you think we're moving towards 5?
I think we're moving towards 5 largely because there's going to be a push for 5. I mean, when you consider that even 2 years ago, the push was we just need to keep our employees employed. We just need to make sure that they're not job shopping elsewhere. So we saw more of the hybrid model. But again, it depends on the industry. But what I'm seeing from my clients, what I'm hearing across industry is that more employers are going to the 4-day work week to see if that model works, and potentially 5 days if that's what's necessary.
Has the pendulum, though, Jason, swung back to the employers having more power to command their workers back to the office? I mean, at this point, in terms of the labor market's cycle, people are worried about their jobs, right? I mean, they want to keep their jobs. They want to make the same amount of money. They don't want to sacrifice anything. Something's got to give, and that may be they got to go back to the office.
I think you said it perfectly when you talked about the pendulum switching back to the employers. Here's what I continue to hear from employees, and actually the survey data bears this out as well, is that you have a number of employees who are frustrated in terms of where their current position is, but they're scared to jump into the job market, especially when you consider the vast majority of employees won't move to a new job unless they're making at least $81,000 or more. So what you have is employees who are essentially saying, you know, the glory days of us going to another job making $20,000 or $30,000 or more is pretty much done. I'm going to stay here, and if my employer forces me to come back to work, I'm going to do so at least begrudgingly.
What does that tell you about the labor market in general, that sentiment, that people are worried to go back to the job market, that they think that they may not make more money if they do jump jobs, in terms of what the Fed is looking at in the employment picture overall?
Yeah, great question. I think what it's ultimately saying is that employees are scared. You know, I've often said this, that the economy needs a better PR agency because the economy is doing relatively well. You still have a number of job openings that are available, but from the sentiment of employees and the internal thinking is, I'm scared to death that if I do leave my job and I jump out there, I'm not going to find a job that's going to at least pay me as much, if not more than what I was currently making. So I think overall the sentiment is I'm going to stay where I am because if I leave, I don't know what's available for me out there.
Jason, you know, we used to talk about the housing market and the mobility, or frankly, lack of mobility that some people felt that they had, insofar as mortgages were either underwater or they didn't think they could sell their house for a profit, therefore they couldn't move. Do you think any of that's changing?
I think so. I think ultimately, and again, I think it's really, you know, it's the psyche of people these days. The psyche of people is that America, just in terms of the overall shift, is sort of doom and gloom. And I think that people, you know, I have a friend of mine who just moved to California. He said that the thing that he was not prepared for is the fact that even in making that move, he got laid off 3 months later. It was for a new job. So I think what ultimately people are saying is, I would love to move across country. I would love to move other places for new opportunities. I'm just scared to death that those opportunities are going to dry up. And then I'm going to be stuck with a mortgage.